Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning for our webinar. My name is Tanisha Nungary, and I'm the president of the African American Chamber of Commerce of Central Florida. My hope and prayer is that each of you, as well as your loved ones, are safe, healthy, and well. We're in for a special treat this morning. Our webinar is how to keep your business relevant during COVID-19, which is something that applies to all of us. So I'm sure we will have a lot of takeaways from this morning. Our presenter is the one and only Jean Perpelot. Jean is the owner and operator of Design Theory, which he founded in 2008. He has a passion for helping entrepreneurs and small businesses create functional websites as well as digital solutions. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Jean and he'll begin his presentation. Thanks, Jean, for joining us.
Oh my gosh, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Tanisha. I really am happy to be here. All right, so let me get started here. I want to say thank you to everybody who's on, and actually I just want to share my screen and I'll get going. But thank you to everybody that's on. I really appreciate you all spending some time to be here. There we go. Okay. All right. Fantastic. So I want to say thank you again to everybody that's on. I really do appreciate that you're spending time here. Right now, there's a lot going on when it comes to this pandemic that's pretty much sweeping across the globe. And there's businesses that we're seeing in the news left and right that are saying that they're not going to be open, that they can't be open. They don't know if they're going to be open. And here in Central Florida, we're not really, impervious to all of what's going on. And so this presentation really is to kind of talk about the different ways that those of us that can be in business or maybe have been impacted in some way, shape, or form by COVID-19, how we could be relevant, how we could either stay in business or even pivot our products and services to being relevant to the marketplace now, to the needs of the people, both in our community as well as those that are abroad. Now, so who is this for? Like I said, for all of us that are out there experiencing this, we're at some way, shape, or form, we're having some kind of an impact when it comes to COVID-19. And so the people that I wanted to focus on is both whether or not you have a product or a service, as long as you have either of the two, you can actually have some takeaways from this presentation. If you think about what's going on right now, if you think about in terms of a product-based business, an example that I have is GM, for example. There's a shortage when it comes to respirators. And so GM, we know them as a car brand, right? They make different types of vehicles. They were able to pivot and start to mass produce respirators. Not something they typically did before, but it's something that they looked in and they did some research and said, hey, we can do this, we can contribute. And so they're able to do that. Not that they're doing it for free or not that they're just doing it out there, it's costing them something, and they're able to make contracts with the government and with different, whether it's federal and state governments, to be able to provide those things. But nonetheless, they were able to look to see what they had in terms of their resources to be able to produce something as a product. Same thing with services. There's different types of services different types of service industry that predominantly were within, whether it's restaurants, whether it's healthcare, and the like, service-based industries like, virtual assistants or telework, things like that. They're also finding ways to create a different method of providing those services just because of what we're going through right now. And so we all have either one of the two. We think about, maybe we offer certain types of products, whether they be digital. Now we can probably, remarket those as specific to say, hey, if you're trying to get your business out there, you're trying to get this, this product to your constituent or to your customer base, and the U.S. Postal Service may not be able to deliver as fast as we would like it to. Well, maybe we can offer a digital product. And so because you offer digital services, you can offer to your customers who are typically their customers would offer a physical product. Maybe they can turn some of that into a digital product, and you can show them how to do that. That's, a way that you can pivot. Maybe you have a fleet of vehicles and you're able to do local shipping, right? Where you need to get some people need to get products from one side of town to the other side of town. That's an option that you can pivot to as well. Maybe you typically would have in-store solutions or walk-up solutions, Now you can offer, online solutions, and maybe you can do online consultations where you would typically do, in-person consultations. I'll give you an example of how doctors right now, like my mom, for example, we've got a doctor's appointment scheduled for tomorrow. We would typically be going in to go see that doctor, and they're using digital services to be able to create an online consultation, so that way we can, have that talk with the doctor and not not have to walk into the hospital, not have to walk into their office and potentially, be around people that may have COVID, right? And so all of these are different ways and different examples that I wanted to show to say who this is for, right? All right, so let's get into it. When we think about your business, or actually when you think about your business specifically, what you want to do is think about how your business is positioned as an industry leader. Are you the best, car mechanic that's out there? Are you the best hairstylist that's out there? Are you leading your industry when it comes to web design or photography, or banking or finance? All of those are different ways that are different, examples. But what you want to do is think about how are you positioned to be the leader of that. And by being the leader of that, meaning, do people come to you for questions? So when you're not in the room, or when other people are gathered and they're having questions about, like, oh wow, there's things that are going on right now with the stock market. There's prices that are, stocks are going up and down. We don't really know what's going on. We don't know if we should keep, we should sell, we should take our money out of our investments, whether they're retirement investments, whether they're 401k investments, short-term mutual funds. What should we do? And they're having these conversations. So if you're a financial advisor, you want to be a leader in your industry, and at least, especially around the people that know you. So that way, when they're having these conversations among their peers and friends, you come up. And by coming up, meaning that they're saying, oh yeah, I know what you mean about the stock market, but you know what? Tim over here, he's really, really good when it comes to, financial planning. And he's probably a really good resource for you to ask what you should be doing about your money. Let me give you his contact information. Let me give you his website. Let me give you his phone number, whatever that it is. Because I've worked with him in the past. I've seen him do presentations. I've seen his website. I've seen him talk to other people. I've seen him in networking events. I've seen what he talked about. He really is a leader when it comes to, what you should know about financial investment and what you should know about financial stability, especially right now. So if you haven't positioned yourself in that way, now is a perfect time for you to do that. Start creating content, start making phone calls, and start, creating areas, whether it's on your social platforms, to kind of set yourself up as that person that people can come to ask those questions, and they can have those conversations with you, right? I can't get this off. There it is. All right. So the other thing is, what's the one thing that people know you for, right? I tell you, for us, or for my business, we started off doing web design, and then we got into graphics, then we got into content, then we got into marketing, and then digital marketing, and all these things, right? Now more than ever, we spend most of our time in digital strategy. However, we still do these other things, right? We still have these other skills and talents that we offer, whether it's myself, my wife, our team. We still do those things, but when we are out there promoting the business, we really are promoting it more so on the side of digital strategy. It's a little more over-encompassing, but it's also something that I speak on more emphatically and have a lot more joy about doing, and it's what gets me out of bed. I still have those other things that I offer, and that's great. However, this is what people know me for, or what we're trying to get more people to know me for, despite all the other things that we offer, right? And so while I am a fantastic photographer, I do photography, whether it's in weddings or headshots or corporate events and things like that. Creating digital strategy and sitting down and having conversations with customers is the thing that I enjoy doing. And I spend a lot of time creating content around that feature, right? So when my colleagues are out there talking about me, or when people have questions about me, that's what I want them to talk about, right? That's what I'm known for the best. And the last is, how do you develop trust in your brand? This is really, really important, because right now, there's a whole lot of misinformation that's out there, and there's a lot of people that are looking for different businesses or companies to provide certain types of services and products. And if you're fairly new to the marketplace, the number one thing that you're going to want to do is not only just get your name out there, but you want to develop an area of trust. You want to have your brand synonymous with trust, whether that be, you know, how you're able to deliver your product, how you're able to communicate the effectiveness of your product, how you're able to communicate to your customers and potential customers. You know, all of those things are very, very important, because once trust is built, it's something that stands among the rest. Whether that's, you know, maybe you're trustworthy, but you're more expensive. Maybe you're trustworthy but least expensive. Maybe you're trustworthy but not as big as your competition. Doesn't matter. People are looking for a brand that they can trust, and they're going to put their money, you know, where that matters the most. You've heard it before, where it's like, if a friend or a colleague has ever worked with a company or purchased a product, and that product, you know, out of the box was a failure or broke, and then they said they had to call customer service, and they were online or on the phone for 45 minutes just to get to somebody, and you know, all of that kind of deteriorates the trust that they have in that brand or that product. Will they go and buy from them again? Absolutely not. And if anything, they'll probably spend a lot more time telling other people how bad of an experience that was, versus, you know, telling how good of an experience that was and giving referrals to that. So you definitely want to worry about building your trust. And, you know, a good quote is, a good reputation can take years to build up and take seconds to turn bad. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about social platforms. Last week, if you were on this webinar, you met Jasmine, and Jasmine did a fantastic job about talking about the different types of social platforms that are out there, as well as how you can utilize them to promote your business. And I just want to elaborate on that a little bit more in terms of what is really happening out there in terms of numbers, right? And we all know about Instagram and how effective that it is and how much time that people spend on it. And now that a lot of people are actually, if not working, they're spending a lot more time on these social platforms. So it's a great opportunity for you to create content on these platforms, because the chances of your content being seen by somebody that's relevant even now is much greater than some others, right? Because where there's other companies that may be taking a backseat or slowing down on their marketing efforts, this is an opportunity for you to use these platforms and create content and create awareness around your brand's products and services, right? So we look at Instagram. Instagram typically has about 500 million daily active users. So when we think about Instagram has a lot of different flavors, right? So we have our Instagram lives, we have our regular posts, we have IGTV, we have the direct messaging platform. There's a lot of different ways that we can create content and engage with our customers or potential customers within that platform. And I can't stress enough about how important it is for you to start to create content now in all these different flavors. If you're not sure about how to do it, or which ways or which, you know, part of the flavors of Instagram to use, go look at your competition, see what they're doing, see how active they're on there. Are they creating content on Instagram twice a day, 5 times a day, 10 times a day, or once a week? And see how they're doing. And not to say that you're going to do it exactly the same, but see what's effective. See what posts that they're creating out there, whether it be on IGTV or whether it be on IG Stories, which is really, really popular. See how they're creating content in that platform in that way, and see how you can create something that's similar, but it's still at the same time unique, right? See what's working for them. TikTok is another really, really big product that's out there, or a social platform that's out there that is catching people by storm, especially right now with all the quarantining that we're doing across the country, across the world. People are taking to TikTok to create music videos. They're mimicking music videos, or they're creating some comedy. They're creating some moments. If not, they're highlighting moments. We have celebrities that are doing it. There's people that are creating dances, and those are catching fire because other people are trying to mimic them to their own. And so the platform by itself right now really doesn't have the pay to play system that the other social platforms do. So meaning that the organic reach that's on TikTok is almost unfettered, and if anything, unfiltered right now. So which means that if you're able to create content on that platform, maybe a couple times a day, the chances of people seeing that content and then following you and you gaining an audience is the easiest that it's ever going to be. Once they switch this around to making it more towards, the pay to play, meaning, unless you're boosting your posts, you're paying for boost, similar to what you're seeing with like Instagram and Facebook and the other platforms, you're not going to be able to get that same type of reach. So if you have some ideas, maybe you're just showing about what it is to be at home at your desk, to do work, checking emails, and you're able to, make a really, interesting or maybe amusing video behind that, do that, or maybe what it's like to be at home with your kids and try to help them with homework and, and stuff like that. There's a lot of different ways that people are using the platform. So spend some time on there, download the app. Obviously it's free, but download the app and see what people are doing and see how ways that you can adapt to that and create content, and then also get consistent with it. This is not something that you want to do, once just to jump in there and then walk away. If you're going to get in there, create a plan for you to get consistent. Maybe it's once a day, maybe it's twice a day, maybe it's 5 times a day. And then the times that you're not on there on both of these platforms, write down some ideas so that way the next day that you're getting ready to sit in front of your camera, your phone, your computer, whatever that it is, you have some ideas on what it is that you're going to be able to create and get right to it instead of trying to sit there and come up with it. Now, I spent a lot of time speaking about LinkedIn, and LinkedIn typically at the onset of it was more of like an online resume for business professionals looking to find other companies or places for them to find employment. That's that's switched up almost on its head over the last couple of years with LinkedIn, where they're more of a content driven platform. Meaning you can write, you can put blog posts on there, you can create articles on there, you can do regular posts on there. You can do, which is very, very new, you can do lives that are on there, you can post videos on there, as well as images. And all of these that you can post on there, what I've seen in terms of LinkedIn is that the longevity of posts happen to have a much more time that it lives versus any other platform. And so I've kind of tested this out with another presentation you can find from our website, where I created a post, I created a video post, I created a photo post, and I posted them on there, like a week at a time between the two of them. And this is still happening to this day, where I created the photo post that I put up there, I put up a little caption, used a couple of hashtags, and I posted it. And week over week, I was still continuing to get people that were engaging with that post, whether it was likes, whether it was comments, whether they was just viewing them. And where typically with like Instagram or Facebook or some of the other ones, you post something, unless somebody saw it, sees it within the first 24, maybe 12 to 24 hours, they're probably not going to see it again. It really just depends. However, with LinkedIn, what's nice about this is that I can post something up there today, and maybe you don't sign into LinkedIn a week from now. And when you do sign in, chances are you're going to see it. It's going to be the top of your feed. And then maybe you engage with it. Well, because now you engage with it, maybe you hit the like button, maybe you commented or whatever. People that you follow will then see that you've engaged with my post. And maybe when they get onto LinkedIn, maybe it was a day after you or a week after you, then they see it. And then it just continues to go on. That type of longevity we're not seeing anywhere else. And so it's super, super impactful that that you spend some time on that platform, even if it's just once a week. I'm not saying that you have to get on there as much as maybe Instagram or TikTok, but maybe if it's just once a week that you can create something that's engaging, that's insightful, that's informative, you can see some really, really good engagement on that platform over time, right? And the last on here in terms of some of these social platforms is Google My Business. There's a lot of you that have physical businesses that are out there and that haven't claimed your business within Google. So if you've ever done a Google search for a location or for a restaurant or for a doctor's office, whatever that it is, what's going to usually come up first is the location of the establishment. And to the right of the location, you're going to see a little bar, a little column that's going to show you a map. It's going to show you the address. It's going to show you the hours, the times, phone number, website, and maybe even some comments from people that have ventured there before, as well as a rating from 1 to 5 stars. Spend some time on there. Ask your previous and current customers to go on to this platform, to Google My Business, and rate your business. Now, for those of you that may not have claimed your business, it's very simple to do that. You can go on there, you can do a search for it, and it'll still come up, and there'll be a little link underneath it that's going to say, claim my business. And by doing that, you're either going to have to claim it by verifying your phone number or verifying it with your address, and they'll send you something in the mail that you can verify, and then you'll have access to log in with your Google address to manage the location. So if you need to update your phone number, update the address, update the suite number, whatever that you need to update, make sure you spend some time to do that so that way people can find you when they're looking for your business, especially if you're open right now. Matter of fact, you can even put a post on there saying that, yes, we are open during COVID-19, and here's the products and services that we're offering specifically during this time. Maybe we don't offer everything, but we do offer these a limited menu or a limited selection of goods. Okay. All right. So Let me just want to make sure that this is, yeah, okay, good. So it's still showing. All right. So where's your target audience spending most of their time, right? It's going to be on their phones because we're spending more time quarantined right now. There's a lot more time that we're spending on our phones and on our mobile devices, right? And so what you want to do is capitalize on that time. Depending on the platform, you can see what their average session time is that people are spending on the platform. Like I said before, we saw 500 million active users on Instagram, and almost the same, if not a little bit more, with TikTok. And I can tell you more stats if you want to reach me afterward in terms of what's happening with Facebook. But all these are platforms that already had millions of users that were on a monthly basis. They've probably doubled that, if not more, during the quarantine. And that's not just local, but that's global, right? And so we want to make sure that we're capitalizing on that time. We also want to make sure that we're building, that we're consistent with our efforts in those platforms. If you have the time to create content on all of these platforms, do so. But if you only have time to create content on just one platform, figure out which platform that it is that your customers, your target customers are spending more of their time on, and then create content just there. You can go on these other platforms to create placeholders for your business and just direct them to where you spend most of your time. Maybe that's more on your website, direct them back there, or direct them to the social platform that you create more, all of your content on. And then while you're creating this content on these platforms, make sure that you're using the 80-20 rule. A lot of times people jump into social media in terms of a business owner, and they're thinking, oh, I just need to sell. I need to create, these ads. I need to create these images to show these sales that I have and show these products that I have, and just sell. And that is the wrong approach. The number one approach that you want to do is be informative. Give people a reason to stop when they're scrolling and seeing your post. Maybe it's something that's going to be insightful. Maybe it's something that's going to be enlightening or encouraging. Whatever that it is, 80% of the time, it needs to be something that your customers or your target customers or your target audience is going to appreciate. If we can all tell the sales in a mile away, and that's not what we want. If anything, it's not something that we're going to follow. But we are going to follow somebody that's going to continue to give me tips on how I can save money, on how I can save energy, on how I can stay safe, on how I can keep my kids safe, or how I can, keep my kids entertained while we're home, or things like that. Especially right now, create content around that way. Even if it's things that you've learned from your competitors, you can still regurgitate that in your unique way to let your potential customers know, or your potential audience know, about what they can do during this time. All right. Okay. Now, I talked about this a little bit before in the previous slide, but this is super, super important that you want to go through all of your profiles and do an assessment. Make sure that they're up to date with all of your most current information. I can't tell you how many times that I sit down with customers where we're talking about doing their digital strategy, and I say, oh, okay, what social profiles do you have? And they're like, oh, we have this, that, and the third. And then I pull it up and I'm like, when was the last time you posted here? How come your website link isn't up on here? Or how come it's an old link and it's leading to a site that's no longer working? Why isn't your latest logo up on here? There's no email address associated with this. There's no description associated with this. Like, all of these things are different features that these platforms allow you to add to your profile. You want to make sure that you utilize them to the best that you can. And if anything, now that we have some time that we're quarantined, go back and do an assessment and look at all of these and review them and say, hey, is this up to date? Is this current? Can I change this? Can I make this? Can I use certain keywords that may be more relevant than where they were when I first created this content, right? If there's pictures that you can add to them, like Google My Business is a really, really good platform for being able to add a lot of this content. You can add pictures. Maybe you have products that you have for sale, or even some services. Maybe you can create some graphics behind them. Add those to your profiles to kind of show that, hey, these are the things that we have to offer. So that way they're just not going there and seeing, those silhouette photos and, no description and no information about how to get in contact with you. So spend some time and do that. If you have questions about what you should do and where you should do those types of things, you can always reach me afterwards and I can show you. But it's, for the most part, a lot of this stuff is self-explanatory. Most of them are all going to have a description or a bio. Most of them are all going to have a place for you to add your logo or photo. And when it comes to a logo or photo, depending on what type of how your brand is representing, I've seen brands or businesses do better with a photo of maybe the leader, the CEO, the owner, the founder or founders, or maybe the team. more so than a logo. If the logo is not known more than the people, then maybe use that instead. And if you've been using a logo for maybe the past year or so, switch it out. Add a profile photo of yourself. Take the time, maybe you do, put some stuff on and then do a quick selfie and post it out there and see what your engagement looks like over the next couple of months, or maybe over the next month to see, if it's weighing out better or not, right? And document that. Okay, so let's talk about content. This is probably the biggest thing. Right now, since we have some time hopefully we have some time that we're sitting down at our desk and we're looking at our businesses. There's a lot of content that you've probably been thinking about in terms of what that maybe your customers don't know, or even there's some things that you assume that your customers know or your potential customers know that they really don't know. So go back through all the content that you may have produced over the past year or so and see about ways that you can maybe reinvent, or not reinvent it, but revamp it. See about ways that you can update it. Maybe you talked about how to do things. You had top 5 tips to do this in 2019. Well, it's 2020. Maybe there's a new top 5 ways that you can do something in 2020. You can revamp that in that way, right? Maybe in a blog post. Maybe you can turn around and do a video and then extract that to extract the video or the content of it to a blog post. You can extract the video and make it into bite-sized sections to different social platforms. Maybe you have a lot of tips that you've created over the past while. Creating an ebook. It almost costs nothing to create an ebook, especially if you're publishing it on your own website. Maybe you publish it through a Dropbox link or a Google Drive link, and then you advertise that because you don't have a website, and you advertise that through your social platforms and have a link that links off to that where people can download that. If you want to sell it, you can have it on your website as well. Maybe put it on Amazon. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of create and disseminate your ebooks if you've been thinking about doing them. And if you've been thinking about writing a full book, doing ebooks is a great starter because it's as short as you want it to be or as short as you need it to be. And then it's a great feeler to put out there to see, are people interested in this? Is this something that's going to fly? Digital downloads, we talked about that before. If you've offered products in the way of physical, maybe you can offer them in a digital form. You can put them behind maybe a call to action, or maybe you can just make them something that people can buy. White papers are always effective. These are things that people create content in terms of their industry. So maybe there's industry knowledge that you know about that you're able to create white papers for that people can download and get insight of that from your perspective. Those are always great. Podcasts are probably one of the biggest things that I'm seeing people jump into, especially now that, again, we're spending more time on our phones. If you're able to go back and recreate your content in audible form for people to be able to listen to while they're cleaning their house, while they're going out for a walk, with safety, while they're doing work. These are, podcasts are a great medium that people can kind of do multitasking, if you will. And so, and also because more and more people are out there looking for a podcast to listen to, why shouldn't it be yours? Why shouldn't you be out there creating content for them to get engaged with you for? Short stories, again, through TikTok or through Instagram stories or through Facebook stories and things like that. Webinars like the one you're on right now. Zoom offers a free option. You can create an account with them for free and create webinars, I think up to about 40 or so minutes at a time. So that's great because, again, you can test the waters there, experiment to see, hey, can I captivate my audience by doing a once-a-week webinar and talk about a specific thing to give them insight on it? Why not? Try it out, because when it's all said and done, just like the Chamber is doing right now with this, is that when we're all said and done, we probably can continue to do webinars through here, maybe once a week, maybe once a month, or however that we do it, maybe at different times of the day and night, right? Maybe evening times and things like that, because we can attract the audience that's out there, or an appetite that's out there for people that maybe can't come into the city for a physical meeting for whatever reason, but maybe they can, they could participate in this webinar or a virtual conference at a time of their leisure. And the great thing about using these virtual sources like this is that maybe they're not able to watch or participate at the time that is going on, but then they can come back to it at another time, almost at any time, at their leisure to get and watch the content on demand. Okay, so let's talk about visual aids and motion graphics. As we talked a little bit before about the different social platforms, Infographics and different types of animation tools or animation graphics are great to use on those platforms. There's a service that we advocate that people can use if you want to get started with creating some graphics, like it would be Fiverr. It's fiverr.com. You can get started with them and find some artists that are able to create some infographics or even some short animations and things like that for very, very, nominal fees, maybe anywhere from like 20 to 50 bucks or something like that, or maybe even less for something, depending on how long you need it or how much, how intricate the graphic needs to be or the animation needs to be. But it's a great way to kind of get started, because if you have a budget, let's say about 100 bucks, and you can spend 20 bucks in a graphic, that's about one new graphic every week that you can publish on your different platforms to be relevant. And that's something that you just have to maybe give a little bit of information or give a little bit of content, and then they're able to take that and create something that's of a really good quality that you couldn't do, but now it's a bump up in terms of what you're posting on your platforms, and now people can get engaged with that and people can see that, and maybe you can continue it after when this is all said and done. But at the very least, for a nominal fee, you can kind of get started if you're not really sure about or you don't have the resources to create something on your own. We talked a little bit about audio and virtual media, but I want to stress this again. Now's the time to get out there and start creating this kind of content. There's a service that we're going to talk about a little bit later called Anchor to create podcasts. It's an all-in-house suite for you to be able to create podcasts and distribute them almost for free, just about for free. Right? So there's almost no excuse that we can't be relevant right now with all the tools and resources that we have available to us just by having an internet connection and a computer or a smartphone. Okay, so I want to spend a little bit of time talking about video, because there's a lot of different ways that we can use it, we can create it, and we can publish it, right? I created an experiment using a Facebook group called the Hero Academy around this time last year, matter of fact. And I made a decision to say I'm going to create one new Facebook Live once a week, and I'm going to publish that within this group. Typically, I'm somebody who's behind the camera and not in front of the camera. So for me to create that was really an experiment to see, is this something that's going to work? Is this something that people are going to get behind? And is this a community that I'm going to be able to grow? And, and unbeknownst to me at the time, it was something that was going to be successful and it was going to grow. And it's been fantastic for me. Now, what I've done with all of these videos is I kind of had them and I processed them and I have them on within the group, but I've been recently repurposing those videos to publish on not just my Facebook page for the business, but also within a YouTube page. So that way people that are not in the group can participate and view these types of videos as well. And those videos can also be shared, whereas within the group, the content that's within there is kind of closed within the group. Fine for community building, but not in terms of being able to attract other people that are outside of that community to partake in that content. So we have our computers, we have our mobile phones and things like that. They're great resources for us to create video, and whether that be a 2-minute video to showing somebody how to do something, how to create something, how to fix something. Or maybe it's a long form video where you're talking about certain things within your industry that you know about, that you want to, give this information to your potential audience. All of those things can work. Now, there's different ways that you can use them. So let's take long form, for example. This is a webinar, right? And so this is probably going to be about an hour, maybe 45 minutes to an hour webinar. Now, when this is all said and done, I can probably chop this webinar down at 10 or maybe 5 minute, 2 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, maybe 10-minute segments, and then put those on different platforms, and then still give a call to action at the end of that to say, hey, for more or for the full video, click here, or visit my website, or visit, the African American Chamber's website. Whatever that it is, I can create a call to action based on, or I can create a call to action to say, come to this landing page that talks more about the specific digital strategy services that we offer, that has the full video maybe, and then it has, a call to action for them to sign up or even to subscribe, right? But being able to chop that video down and put it in different platforms is a way of not just repurposing the content, but reusing that content in strategic ways throughout the platforms respectively, right? Because we know with TikTok, we can't really do, I think it's about a minute or so that we can have something on there. With LinkedIn, you really only want to have about 2 to 3 minute videos that are up there, and there's a size limit in terms of the video. With YouTube, obviously, we can have almost as much as big as or long a video as we want. Facebook, I think there's a little bit of a cap, but you have a long form video you can do there as well. So there's a lot of different areas that we can kind of utilize this to attract and engage with customers just by using video. Now, the other thing behind that is that we could strip the video or strip the audio from the video and then use that audio as a podcast. So there's a lot of different ways that we can kind of take this, or we can strip the text or the speech from the video and then create a blog post out of it within a text form, right? There's a lot of different ways that we can use it. Okay, so getting close to time, so I'm going to kind of go through these a little bit quicker here. Right now, because of what's going on, there's a lot of companies that had a budget for marketing that are stepping back their budget for marketing because of whatever reason. And we're not going to really get into why they may think that it's a good idea or not, but I'm here to tell you that it's a bad idea to step down on your marketing. If you have any budget aside that you can put into, maybe it's Google ads, maybe it's doing email marketing, maybe it's doing Facebook ads or Instagram ads, almost double down on it. Because some of the bigger players may not be advertising as much, now's the time for you to get in there, because now you're going to be able to get seen a lot more. Not only because they're not creating content, but because, like I said earlier, there's people that are spending more of their time on these platforms. So if you're creating ads that, again, that are informative, that are strategic and engaging, the more chances that they're going to see that ad and they're going to take the next step, which is probably to sign up, purchase something, or contact you for more information. So ways that you can do that: create some email, go dust off your email list if you haven't been sending emails, and send some emails out to your base. Maybe if you have 20 people on your email list, that's fine. All you're looking for is about 1 or 2 of those people that see that email from you and that are willing to take an action and maybe go ahead and sign up for something, purchase something, or subscribe to something, right? Be honest with your marketing efforts. And when I say honest, meaning be transparent. Say what you're, give your example of what you're trying to do. Say what you're trying to, who you're trying to get attention from, and be honest with where you're coming from. People can tell, like I said, people can tell who's salesy, and people can tell someone who's being, honest about their approach. Have some transparency behind it. Say, hey, listen, we've had, yes, our business has had a bit of a decline in terms of our traffic or in terms of our customer base, and so because of that, we've pivoted from doing this to now offering this. And because we're able to offer this, we can offer it at scale. We can offer it around the clock. We can offer it at certain times. We can say we're going to be at this location and people can just drive up and they can pick this up. Maybe we're going to utilize, another service that's in town and we're going to deliver these to the door. However that it is, be transparent with your approach. People will appreciate that. And then even if you have an initiative behind it to say, hey, for every, new sale that we do, we're going to do, our proceeds are going to go towards maybe this charity or maybe this organization or maybe towards this thing. And that's a great way to develop trust, and is another great way to develop a bond within the community to say that, hey, these guys have been out there during this crisis, and once this is all over with, they'll still remember that, right? And also, last, experiment, right? Everything that I'm telling you are different tactics that you can use or different strategies you can use, and there's tactics within them, but not everything is going to work for everybody, right? There's certain things that are going to work specifically for your business, and what you want to do is do an assessment to say, hey, is this really effective for me? And by experimenting, really what you want to do is try out for maybe a couple of weeks consistently to see how it works, and measure your data, measure the response, measure the engagement, and see what's actually working for you. And those are the things that aren't working, that's okay. Document it and then try something else and pivot to something else, but do not give up and do not quit. All right. Creating partnerships is probably really, really important, especially right now, because if there's things that you were able to do before in terms of your products and services you can't do, maybe there's a partner that you can align yourself with that's both local or that maybe virtual or maybe abroad that you can partner with to still get your products and services out to the marketplace. When we think about public speakers, they're probably hit the most because they're used to being out to different venues and talking to let's say industry leaders for doing coaching and things like that, right? And so they can't do that as much as they used to now because venues just, gathering in a large venue isn't available right now, isn't a thing that we should be doing right now. But they can create content and they can still speak to an audience that is paid for by doing webinars or by doing seminars or virtual things like that. Now, while they're doing that, maybe they can partner with someone who is in HR who does talent acquisition, because while they're speaking to these industry leaders, maybe individually, where they would maybe sit in their office, or maybe sit in a company meeting with all the CEOs, with all the chief officers. Now they're doing the chief officer meeting, virtually. But while they're there, they can see, what the needs are within the company. And because they've got a partnership with someone who does talent acquisition, while they're giving this coaching, they can say, hey, you know what? I work with somebody, or I'm partnered with somebody, or I have a colleague who's in talent acquisition. And because I can see right now that there's a need in this organization for a CFO or something like that, or whatever, I can bring him in, or I can bring this person in, and they can, consult with you on this, and they can probably find somebody that could fill this need right now. So that way, we're running at 100%, right? It's a good collaboration. Maybe I do photography, and maybe I don't do animations well, but maybe I have a colleague who does really good animations. Well, maybe I'll do the photography, or maybe I'll do the recording, and then I'll work with somebody who does the editing, and then they'll do the editing the way that I would want it. They would add, effects behind it. They would do music behind it, and all the different transitions, all the cool stuff. And then the way, all I have to do is continue doing what I know how to do very, very well. And that collaboration can work, fantastic when we present that to the marketplace, because again, we're presenting to our customers and say, hey, we're not out yet. We're able to continue to stay in business, and we're able to do that because of this relationship with this partner. And by the way, if you need to work with this person or this company because they do this, that, and third for us, contact them. Here's their information. Here's a great way that we can all kind of, share in business opportunities where we typically would have to do that in a different way, or may not have had the opportunity to do it in this way, prior to this crisis. Okay. So I talked a lot about, creating content, where to create content and things like that. What I want to do is give you guys some resources on what I use, as well as what I would, what I give advice on in terms of where you can go to get free videos and photos and other types of resources. And these three right here on the screen, Mixkit, Pexels, and Remove.bg, are fantastic. They're free to get started. They've got high quality HD resources, whether they be videos or photos. And in some cases, some have audio tracks behind them. So if you need to use audio, you can do that as well. And so I highly recommend visiting them, create an account. Some of them will send you emails to tell you what their top things that they have, maybe once a day, once a week. You can subscribe for that as well. But for those of you that don't have, let's say, a high quality camera, and you need to create content, but you need to be able to use some B-roll, you need to be able to use some shots of, of a certain city or a certain thing or certain product or whatever, check out Mixkit, check out Pexels, and check out Remove.bg. Oh, Remove.bg is a service where maybe you want to remove the background from an image. This is an online service, so you upload your image to that, and it'll remove the background for you using AI. It's really, really resourceful, and again, it's free. They do have a premium feature that you can subscribe to if you want to, but I highly recommend using it. If, again, you don't have the resources on doing these types of editing, but you can do it on your own using some of these services. All right, so we talked a little bit before about Anchor. I highly recommend downloading this app. You can use it on your computer, as well as using their free app, whether it's Android or iPhone. You can create and publish your podcast right within the app. Use the resources we talked about before if you need to create your album art or your podcast art, and things like that, or you need to get some tracks or audio to put behind for music or things like that. But I highly recommend using this because, again, you're able to create these podcasts all through within the app. They're publishing it right to Apple for you, or right to Spotify and some of the other bigger repositories that are out there. And all that they're doing is they're able to do that for free because they're looking for people that more content creators to create content on through other platform to get out there. So highly recommend using that. If you thought about creating a podcast before and thought, oh my gosh, I don't know how to get started, I really want to get this out there, use this app. It's called Anchor, and you'll thank me later. All right. So with everything that's going on right now, if you do a Google search, chances are you're going to see things that are more so on the lines of COVID or in terms of healthcare and things like that. If there are other things that are happening within your industry that you may not know about, but they're probably your customers or potential customers should know about. So I use a service called Google Trends. Now, if you use Google Trends, and it's easy to get there, just do a Google search for Google Trends. It'll bring you to the website. But If you just type in your industry, type in a couple keywords, whatever that you can kind of think of, it'll show you what is trending based on the country, based on the world, and even hyper local. If you want to find out what's trending within, we're in Orlando, you can find that out. And now by finding out what's trending, you can create content that is pertaining to what's trending right now, which means if you're creating content that is trending right now, that's to what's trending right now, once you publish that, that'll be indexed and then it'll be included in what people are searching for within Google and some of the other platforms. So the likelihood that someone will be able to see your content based because it's trending is even higher because you're creating content based on what's popular right now within, you know, a certain demographic or within a certain area. Okay. If you're not sure about what blog posts or what white papers or unique titles or ideas in terms of what to create for your pages or your blog posts and things like that, I highly recommend using the HubSpot idea generator. It's free to use. You just type in a couple of keywords and it'll give you some ideas in almost like a title. And if you like it, cool, add it. If you don't, hit it again and continue until you find something that you like, or at least you get inspired with something that you like. And then that way you can take that idea and then you go ahead and create the content behind that. So HubSpot Idea Generator is another tool that we refer people to use if they need ideas. All right, now lastly is Adobe Spark. This has been around for a good couple of years. They started off just by being able to create a platform, both I think it was online, and now they also have a mobile app where they start off by, you can use this service to kind of put together images in the background to create, you know, a graphic for maybe Instagram, maybe for LinkedIn or whatever. It was a good visual picture or graphic that you can use, even for a logo. I've seen people do all types of things through Adobe Spark, and now they've also introduced the ability for you to do video through it as well. It's a freemium app, so there's so much that you can do on the free side, and then if you pay for a subscription, then you have access to a lot more of the tools and resources. But to get started, it's a really, really good application that I highly recommend people use, especially if you're looking to create content, you know, within Instagram, maybe LinkedIn, maybe Twitter and Facebook and things like that, or your Facebook page, or even just some content for a call to action on your website. I highly recommend using that as well. Okay, so that is all that I have here. I do want to step aside and pull this back open to see if we have any questions. Okay, on the first side, okay. Okay, so one of the questions was, what was the software to create a podcast? That is Anchor. That is the software that there's a couple slides behind, but that's the one that you want to use. Like I said, you can download that on any mobile device to be able to create podcasts. And because, because because you can publish to the major networks like iTunes and Spotify. That's the one that I always recommend to, because all you have to do is just, you know, create it on there. You can publish it on there. You can schedule your podcasts that are on there. So let's say, for example, you batch edit. That's cool. Do that and then schedule them to go out maybe 1 week at a time, maybe 2 weeks at a time. When it comes to that platform, I've seen a gamut. I know I follow podcasters that create content on a daily basis, and I've also seen people create content on a weekly basis. Whatever you feel comfortable with that you have the time to do, I would recommend doing. But don't overwhelm yourself. Don't start off by creating content on this platform and say, I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to do this twice a week. And then, you know, after about the second week, you're burnt out because you can't even keep up. There is a lot that kind of goes into it in terms of editing and things like that. But it is possible through this app to kind of get you started. And that's kind of the same rule of thumb that I would say with any of the content that you're going to be creating. Don't get overwhelmed with it. There's a lot of resources that are out there for you to be able to utilize, but take it a step at a time. Try, you know, to create maybe 1 or 2 things a day on just one platform. See how that does for you. Can you get consistent with doing that every single day for a good week? And then maybe next week you say, oh, you know what? I have some more time. I can do another platform. All right, that's cool. Go ahead and do content for this one platform, and then go ahead and create content for the set or for another platform. See how that does for you consistently. If you're going to do it every day, once a day, whatever, once a week, do that for the following week. And then look at your numbers. Look to see what the data says to you. What's your engagement like? Are people sending you messages? either privately or through, or are they making comments on your post? And if they are, make sure that you have the time to respond, because it's one thing to be able to create content, but it's another thing to say to create content and walk away from the platform altogether. You want to make sure that you are transparent and you're responding and you're commenting to or replying to your comments with the same voice that you would if you were meeting that person in person, right? Meaning your cadence has to be the same, your attitude is the same, how you speak and the words that you use have to be the same. We can usually tell when there's people that use services for managing the social media, where it's like they'll post something and then maybe there's a comment and the comment is, a little more dry or maybe a little more formal and not necessarily something that seems like it was genuine. And so we can tell that, right? We can tell when it's like, oh, that must not be, Tim, because when I met Tim and I talked to him, that's not the way that he talks, right? And so if you're going to create content on these platforms, be sure that you're also available to respond and try to respond within an hour, because it's a real-time thing. We're looking for, as a consumer, we're looking for engagement. We're looking to see if these people are there. No different than if we pick up the phone and call somebody. We really want that phone to be picked up within the first maybe 2 or 3 rings at the most. Awesome if it's picked up within the first ring. There's a couple of companies that I've heard stories about, especially right now, that have beefed up their customer service, where they've got a lot more people available to answer calls, so that when you call, instead of you hearing, like if you called any bank to look for financing or look for different types of programs, they're telling you that their wait times have been exacerbated to like, an hour, 45 minutes and so on. Whereas if it's like, hey, we have, our hold time is, almost non-existent. As soon as you call, you're going to be able to talk to somebody. And when you do, when you call, it's going to be almost immediately. And I think that that's awesome, right? And that's definitely something to tout. It's definitely something that you want to share on the social platforms and get other people to share, because they may not know about that. And that may be the driving force that says, hey, I'm not going to go to this competitor. I'm going to go to these guys, because if I call, I've talked to people, they said, oh, they got somebody on the line immediately, right? So definitely look into that. Oh my gosh, there's a bunch of questions. Okay, let me see. Go back here. Are you able to send the PowerPoint? Yes. So once this, the question was, are you able to send the PowerPoint or the slides of this presentation afterwards? And so yes, once this presentation is finished, we're gonna we're gonna bundle up the recording so that we can post it. It will be available on the African American Chamber's blackcommerce.org's website, as well as our website at jpDesignTheory.com. Right now, if you want to go to our website, I have a lot of resources right there off the homepage. If you go to our website, jpDesignTheory.com, and just go down to our articles and resources section, and then our blog section. If you click on the top there, you'll see, I think we just released a SWOT analysis a template that you can use. So if you have a business, whether it's a brand new business you think about starting, or you have a business that's been in business for a while and you've not done a SWOT analysis, or you don't even know what that means, I explained in that presentation what it is, why it's important, and why you should use one, as well as a download that you can use as a template. You can create your own SWOT analysis. So that's up there. There's other resources that I have from previous presentations, as well as slides that are there. They're free to download that you can do. I think some of them we have where if you just sign up with us, just by giving us your name and email address, by doing so, it just lets us know that this is something that you're interested in, so we can create more of that. So highly recommend that those of you that are watching, if you don't mind going over to grab these resources, it lets us know that we're doing a good job, and that it also lets us know what other content that we can create, so that way you can come back, visit our website to download some more. So yeah, so those will be up available. This will be up available, as well as the video later on today. I think another question about the downloads as well. That'll be available later. There was a question about, is there a cost to use Adobe Spark? Let's check the time. Adobe Spark, like I said, you can use it for free. There's a free element to it. We call it freemium, which means there's a free element to where you can do a lot of different things with it. And then there's our premium side where you pay, I think it's like a nominal fee. Maybe it's like $9 a month. It's either $9 or $15 a month. And then you have access to a lot more of their tools and resources within that platform. So you can definitely get started, see if you like it, experiment with it, see what you're able to create with it. And if it's something that falls in line with what you feel comfortable with, I highly recommend signing up. It's definitely worthwhile. Or, like, again, go back to another resource. Maybe it's a local resource of somebody nearby that you can partner with, and maybe they can create these things for you. All right. So I am out of time. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm not sure if Tanisha, if you're still there, or if Sheena, you're there to wrap up. But I definitely want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you for being here. It's been an honor.
Awesome. Thank you, John. We appreciate you joining us this morning and providing those helpful tips, not only about staying relevant now during COVID-19, but making sure all of our businesses can remain relevant and provide good content online and on social media. So we appreciate everything that you've shared with us today, all very helpful. I encourage everyone that's joining us to please check out John on his website. Again, that's www.jpDesignTheory.com if you'll check him out. And then I'd just like to go over just a few of our upcoming workshops too. We do have one coming up this Thursday, and so if you go on social media, you can see that one, but we are happy to have Ashley Bell join us this Thursday for a workshop, and all of our workshops will be on our website, www.blackcommerce.org, as well as on social media. You can find what we have coming up. We will have one next week that we partner with the National Medical Association to talk about how COVID-19 is disproportionately affecting the African American community. So again, thank you all for joining us. John, thank you, and I hope that you all have a great rest of the day.